Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. This is the third module of the course Hajj and Umrah. In this module, we will cover the symbolism and philosophy of the Hajj ritual. The Hajj ritual, as we have seen in the earlier modules, is a grand ritual. It is a ritual which symbolizes war against Satan, a war which he himself had initiated at the inception of mankind when he challenged the Almighty that if he is given this respite, he will lead mankind astray. The Almighty accepted this challenge and said, well, his servants will not be led astray by him. So when we do Hajj, we are actually symbolizing this war against Satan. And if we are able to imagine what exactly this symbolism is while we are doing Hajj, it really invigorates us and reinforces this feeling of how we are connected to the Almighty in this worship ritual. So at the behest of God, His servants take out time from the pleasures and involvements of life. They wear unstitched cloths, two unstitched cloths, and they leave aside all their goods, possessions and assets, and then proceed to the battlefield, of course, with the chant of Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, God I'm present, God I'm present. And just like warriors do, they encamp in a valley. The next day they reach an open field, seeking for the forgiveness of the Almighty, praying and beseeching Him to grant them success in this war, and listening to the sermon of the Imam, which of course is offered on the field of Arafat on the 9th of Zul-Hajj. Giving due consideration to the symbolism of waging war against Satan, they shorten and combine their prayers, and then after a short stay on the way back, they reach their camps. Thereafter, they fling and hurl stones on Satan symbolically by throwing those stones on the Jamarat, and symbolically offer themselves to God by sacrificing animals. They then shave their heads and to offer the rounds of vow come to the real place of worship and sacrifice, which is of course the Baytullah or the house of God. So we can see after that they return to their camps once again. This is what happens. They go to Mina once again, and in the next 2 or 3 days they fling stones on Satan in the very manner that they had done earlier. So it's like an army encamping from one place to another, moving from one place to another under the command of an Imam, not shortening its prayers, combining them, giving due regard to the symbolism of Hajj, hurling stones at Satan, again symbolically, devoting themselves ceremonially by offering themselves through animal sacrifice. And finally they shave off their head and then come back to the Baytullah, which is the real place of sacrifice. And then once again they move to their camp in Mina, where they once again hurl stones there. So you see, the whole exercise is like an army going from one place to another, and in its own eyes it has that target set before itself, that it is going to hurt Satan very badly. So as far as the ihram is concerned, it symbolizes the fact that a believer has withdrawn from all amusement, from all attractions and involvements of this world, because you're wearing that unstitched cloth, and like a monk you are wearing two unstitched pieces of cloth, and you're bareheaded, and to some extent you're barefooted as well, and you resolve to reach the presence of the Almighty. So the talbiyah is basically this talbiyah, which of course I refer to this call or this chant of Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. It is basically a response given to Abraham when he himself had asked people while standing on a rock, that when he had built the house of God, that people should reach this place from all the nooks and corners of this world and acknowledge His favors and affirm their belief in Tawheed by chanting this beautiful and this moving slogan of Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka Labbaik. So the second important symbolism that we have to understand is the tawaf. What exactly does the tawaf stands for? It is an ancient tradition of the Abrahamic religion. According to this tradition, animals which were to be sacrificed or devoted to the place of worship were made to walk to and fro in front of it and in front of the altar. So basically, animals in this Abrahamic tradition, which were to be sacrificed or devoted, they were made to walk to and fro in front of it, and also in front of the altar. So it is these rounds which have been referred to at various places by the translators of the Torah as wave offerings and presenting someone. So basically these wave offerings are they refer to these rounds of tawaf. people who are aware of the Old Testament, they clearly know that these wave offerings, they refer to the rounds of tawaf. And then if we go further, we see there is another symbolism which is found in the istilam of Hajar Aswad. So we know the istilam is that you kiss the Hajar Aswad, the black stone, or you place your hand on that, or if that is not possible, you just point a stick or a finger towards it. This is basically a revival of pledge. When you revive your pledge, you're reviving your pledge of Tawheed and you're doing so by actually kissing that black stone or pointing a stick towards it. And it was an ancient tradition also about covenants and pledges that they were revived by kisses, and they would be revived by actually putting one's hand in the other person's hand. So we can clearly see that this symbolism is how beautifully and symbolically depicted in the Istilam. The Sa'i, in fact, is the tawaf of the place where Ishmael was offered for sacrifice. So Abraham, while standing on the hill of Safa, had observed this place of sacrifice, and then to fulfill the command of God had briskly walked towards the hill of Marwa. And this, of course, this walk between the Safa and Marwa is the tawaf of Sa'i of Safa and Marwa. And they are the rounds of vow which are first made before the Kaaba and then on the place of sacrifice. So initially those rounds were made around the Kaaba, and now these rounds are made on the place of sacrifice. The place of sacrifice is Mina, and we know it extends from there. So it was Marwa actually on which Ishmael was placed or offered for sacrifice. So when we offer, or when we walk between Safa and Marwa, what we are doing is we are symbolizing this particular act, that an animal which is to be devoted to God is made to walk in front of the altar, which of course here in this case was the Marwa, or the Marwa hill, where Abraham had intended to sacrifice Ishmael. Now, there's some other things also that we have to understand regarding this symbolism. First, this Arafat, or this huge field of Arafat, it is a surrogate for the Kaaba, where the warriors gather to battle against Satan, seeking forgiveness for their sins and praying to God to grant them success in this war. So the field of Arafat also has to be understood, that it stands for the holy Kaaba. Basically, it's a surrogate for that Kaaba, and it's a place where the warriors and the fighters and the combatants, they gather to battle against Satan. Muzdalifah is the place where the army stops and spends the night, and the warriors once again, they pray and beseech the Lord when they get up in the morning on their way to the battlefield. So basically, again, it's another symbolism that we have to understand. The Rami, as we can see, it very understandably symbolizes the fact that we are cursing and waging war against Satan. And this ritual is undertaken with the determination that a believer would not be happy with anything less than defeat for Satan. So doing the Rami for 3 days, first at the bigger Jamra and then at the smaller ones, symbolizes this very essence that we are doing this continuously. Animal sacrifice is something which is a substitute for one's own life. So when we sacrifice an animal, we actually present our own selves before the Almighty and make this pledge that today we are sacrificing this animal, tomorrow if I am needed for this purpose, I will also not withhold myself. So if you view this ritual or this rite of animal sacrifice, we can see how great it is that when you offer animals for sacrifice, it is in fact you're offering your own life. And because of course this need may arise sometime, it's like a rehearsal that goes on when we do this. So another thing that we have to understand is that the haircut also carries a symbolic significance, and that is that when we do in ancient times, a haircut or shaving off one's head would symbolize the fact that we are devoting oneself to be the servants of God. So when we do this, we actually pledge ourselves to be servants of God, and as a mark of our obedience and eternal servitude to God, we shave off our heads, or we have a haircut. So in this regard, we can see that these foregoing details, they tell us that Hajj is a very grand and a very exceptional ritual of worship. It symbolizes this war against Satan. It symbolizes how we are ever ready to conduct this war, and hence when we come back after Hajj, we should be invigorated with the spirit, with these feelings that we are going to defeat Satan in the remaining time that we have left in our lives. Also, as a result of this, this is something that if we are able to offer once in our lifetime, it should be enough to invigorate us for the rest of the life. And it goes without saying that we should offer this ritual as soon as we can, instead of waiting it till we grow old. So this brings us to the end of the third module of the course Hajj and Umrah.